Good afternoon and welcome to the second test record of the callyourmate.com pub test podcast. Now, this is the second recording that we've done. The other one was put up last night. We're doing this to check out audio levels. We're doing it to check out video and also contrast with this fucking ugly head. Yes, I have had a haircut today. Thank you so much for your wonderful compliments. They are greatly appreciated. Actually, on that though, the lady who was cutting me hair today, she done what they always done. You know how they hold that fucking dinner plate up with a mirror in the back of it, and she goes to show the back of me head, and I'm going, sweetheart, I am never gonna fucking see that. You could fucking etch-a-sketch a cock into the back of my head, and I'd know nothing whatsoever about it. But anyway, so the pub test. Today there was a very interesting thing that come up on the local Facebook Whinge and Wine page. I think they call it, I forget, the Mount Isa event page. And they were talking about the people who live in the river here in Mount Isa. And yes, we do have Indigenous people who live in the river of Mount Isa. I'm not just talking about camping there of an afternoon. I'm talking about them actually having bedding set up, cooking equipment set up, obviously pissing and shitting behind trees. We are just entering into our wet season right now, which is going to cause the river to flow. That excrement is obviously going to flow down to Lake Mundara, which is the water supply for this great town of the Mount Isa. Now, it was very interesting when I read some of the comments on there, because the initial post was in regards to the people who live in the river need to just clean up the area. That was the original post. There was no racial intentions. There was no, we need to kick these people out or anything like that. It was just a very simple statement of the people who live in the river, between the little bridge and the big bridge. People in Mount Isa will know what that means. Really need to tidy this area up. And hey, I 100% agree with that. But when we got into the comment section is where the interesting things started to happen. Now, because we are very close to the Northern Territory border, there's a lot of people from Tennant Creek who have alcohol rules, who actually just drive down to Mount Isa here and buy as much alky licky hole as what they can. And they just set up camp in the river. And once again, they piss in the river, they shit in the river. Now, the comments were, in my opinion, something that is seriously needing addressing in Australia, and especially in this situation. The local Indigenous people here are the Kalkadoon people, very proud countrymen, but I have never met an Indigenous First Nation person who is not proud of their country or their nation. So to say they're a proud Kalkadoon person, it goes without saying. Every person is a proud whatever country they're from. But the comments were going that the people who are setting up camp in the river aren't Kalkadoon, so the Kalkadoon elders can't tell them what to do. Other comments were like, these people are ring-ins from the Northern Territory, really they need to be packed up and sent home. But it kept on coming back to this point, that they're not Kalkadoon, so it's got nothing to do with the Kalkadoon people. So let me get this straight. We've got a youth crime problem in Mount Isa at present, that any time after midnight, the scallywags, and I don't want to double up on issues when I'm doing these monologues, because this is what we spoke about on last night's live. I don't want to double up on this, but we've got issues within First Nations or Indigenous children. I'm not going to call them Aboriginals. First Nations or Indigenous children running an absolute fuck through the night time, stealing cars and breaking into vehicles and breaking into houses, stealing keys and going joyriding in cars, riding off a car a night on average. Now, is that not... So if they're Kalkadoon kids, are the Kalkadoon people going to embrace that child and show them on their right way? Or if they're Northern Territory kids, are the Kalkadoon people going to go, well, hey, not our problem, they're someone else's issue? You understand what I'm trying to get at there? Is that we all live, and I've been through the foster care system as a carer, and we are always told that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, do we open our arms up to all children, or in this situation? Because, hey, if they're not Kalkadoon children, they're not our problem. Or is it, hey, this is the disturbed Indigenous child who needs our help? Because there is, again, Indigenous land councils get paid a substantial amount of money from the mining companies in the area. So it's not as if there's lacking in finances. And me personally, I would have assumed that a child in need should be everyone's problem. And when it comes to the Indigenous tribal kind of stuff, I think the tribal connections need to be pushed aside for the welfare of all First Nations people. I don't think it comes as a good example when we've got the Kalkadoon kids, they're fucking arseholes when they're in the Northern Territory, and them fucking Northern Territory fellas are arseholes when they're in Mount Isa. I think it has come to that divide and conquer situation, which I think is a problem, because going for these tribes and so many nations, we have actually divided the nations to the point where they won't help each other out, and I think that's an issue. That comment just then didn't really make a great deal of sense, and I understand that, but I do think we have kind of come upon a divide and conquer situation, that now that tribes don't want to help the next door neighbours, sorry for saying that, if one mob isn't going to look after the mob who lives next door, who's going to look after all the mobs? So that's been a 7-minute monologue so far, and that'll be enough to test what we're doing. These monologues aren't just shits and giggles. These are points that I feel need to be discussed, and I think it is something that we do take to the pub when we actually start going out on the street recording. But yeah, so there we are. So that's the end of test session number 2 for the callyourmate.com podcast, or videocast, or whatever you want to call it, the pub test. Let's upload this one. Well, I suppose if you're seeing this, it is uploaded. And just see what the quality's like. Hey, let me know in the comments whether you prefer the audio commentary from this one or the test number 1 from yesterday, and any improvements that you want to think may be worthwhile. Let's look into it. So I'm saying that, as always, as we finish every single TikTok that was ever done, hashtag call your mates. Hang on. I'm sitting at the fucking office where they're made. So call your mate. See a professional if you need to. Have a heart. Spread the shit around.